All right, everybody. So, today we have a special episode of Good Morning Kyiv. We are joined by two very special guests, Operator Starsky, as you know, and the legendary John Sweeney. How you doing, guys? First, introduce yourself, John.
You're not my carer. Where are we? What's happening? I want the nurse back.
Oh, my goodness. How is everybody doing this morning? How is everybody doing? We're checking in. There it comes. All right, and Operator Starsky, introduce yourself.
Hello, guys. Operator Starsky, 4th Operative Brigade, National Guard. So yesterday, initially, I wanted to take Andrew to that brutal gym that we have here in Kiev.
Yeah.
It's an open-air gym in the middle of Dnipro on an island, and but we had like a leg day before we managed to get to the gym, because we observed the Museum of War, Lavra, that monastery complex that we have, and we went to the government district and all the way back, and then we thought like, no, fuck the F the gym.
We went walking and walking and walking, and it was just such a blast. And then we went to his favorite sushi restaurant yesterday, which was so good. And then we got to have dinner with the legendary John Sweeney, and it was such a pleasure, sir.
Well, we went to a brutal restaurant, and we actually had a really brutal meal. No, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was very. It was very funny, and also it was a real pleasure. And you're from somewhere called the United States?
Yeah, I'm from Minnesota in the United States. Just south of Canada, little brother.
Yes. Anyway, it was very, very funny, and I can't remember a thing, because I think you gave me too much to drink.
Oh, I was the one that gave you too much to drink. The non-drinker that doesn't drink often. I was really, John, I think we need another. No, it was a lovely dinner. I mean, I tried some new foods. I had the blood sausage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Merc to eat the blood sausage.
Yeah, both of them did. They're like, you have to try it. Alex did get it on video. Bro, it's this. Explain what it is, Alex.
It's sort of a mixture of all the bits of a pig you never thought you'd ever eat in your life, really. It's intestines, it's blood. Merc put on a very brave face whilst trying it.
He liked it. He's from Minnesota. He can eat that stuff.
Exactly, God knows what else they eat up there that high in America.
Blood sausage is made of buckwheat, blood, and it's all is stuffed into pig's intestine. But guys, I mean, it's really good. I mean,
it wasn't bad. I can't lie. It really wasn't that bad at all. He's right. But would I get it again? I think that was probably like a one-time deal for me personally.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, but it was lovely, and we also had some. We had some kind of elderberry juice, or it may have been wine.
It was a few wines. It was good elderberries, and
actually, I'll tell you what we had, gang. We had it was Merlot. It's called Ace by Starsky, who is a famous Ukrainian tennis player who's in the army. He's a soldier, and also he's a friend of mine, and I've got to play chess against him. But Ace by Starsky. Whenever I go into a restaurant, I don't ask for it. I forget his name because it's complicated, and I go to serve a ball, and the waiter just looks at me. What the fuck are you on, mate? Can I swear?
Of course you can.
You're from Minnesota.
Of course you can. You can say anything. This is YouTube. This is modern media now. We don't have the FCC up our ass here, so it's lovely. It's lovely to have the both of you on. I mean, we had Starsky come in, and then John is just such a genuine human. He said, "I'll come on your show as well tomorrow," and we were kind of concerned because it was late last night, and it was just such a lovely evening. Being able to get out, we went walking, and the area is just beautiful. What would you say about that, John? About your experience here? Talk about your experience here in Kyiv.
So Kyiv is right now. I think it's the most. It's it's the capital of the free world. I'm sorry, it's St. Paul's, isn't it? Is Minnesota?
It is.
I'm sorry,
It is.
St. Paul's, but Kyiv beats you. The reason is that you get the feel. So what's happening is everybody here just wants to have fun. It's kind of, my friend Vlad Damchenko is the Ukrainian soldier who arrested me on day 2 for being a Russian spy.
I'm not.
Do I look like a Russian spy? Give me your passport. You're not a policeman. Give me your passport. Like that. We're friends now.
That's how it goes.
Don't argue. One piece of advice, Operator Starsky. Don't argue with a Ukrainian with a loaded machine gun.
Oh, yeah, bad idea. Very bad idea.
Anyway, other than that, you'll find Ukraine, Kiev in particular, is very welcoming. It feels to me like it's the capital of the free world, Merc, in that it has the feeling of what I read about London in 1940. I'm not that old, fuck off. What I read about it, or also like West Berlin in '61 when the wall goes up. All everybody wants to do is have fun and go dancing and listen to music, but they've got to fight the monster. Yeah. And in Britain in 1940, the monster had a German accent, and in Kyiv right now, the monster has a Russian accent. Yeah. But it's the same kind of fascism. It's about invading peaceful democracies, and peaceful democracies standing up and saying "fuck off." And there is something beauty about the spirit here. There's something electric about it. The idea that simply, if you don't have that extra drink, if you don't try and get in bed with that beautiful man or beautiful woman, then you're going to regret it. And that's exciting. And I'm sorry you turned down my advances, but there we go.
You tried very hard.
You did try very hard. Yeah, you had.
I look at the nose. But there's a kind of electricity about being here, about being alive and standing up to Vladimir Putin, which is kind of beautiful. And it's a beautiful city, and it's the jokes and the laughter, they're real.
Yes, they are. There's a sense of genuine here. Everything I've met between the people, the experiences, has been genuine. What is your Starsky of people that are coming from other places, other countries, and then they come to Ukraine?
One thing is they don't know much about our country, and I blame bad marketing for that. For some reason, we had years of bad marketing regarding our country. It just didn't work. But I'm always happy to show people around, tell them stories, because there's like million stories. I think Andrew is already tired as fuck to hear all of them like every single day.
I love it.
And what I can say, again, for me personally, seeing foreigners now during the wartime, it's always a huge inspiration, so I'm always happy when I can meet people from other places, even though it's dangerous now, because even though we have a strong air defense, yesterday several people were injured. Tonight, several people were injured. I believe the mayor reported one man found dead because the debris the debris of the intercepted drone hit the residential building, and unfortunately we had casualties there. So it's dangerous, but it's so inspiring to see foreign people who support Ukraine coming to our country and doing whatever they can to help us. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And John, you have been here as a foreigner since the beginning. We watched your war diaries from day one, or we have the orange hat emoji. It's what he's getting a kick out of the orange hats. Yeah, he's getting a real kick out of that. What has been your experience with foreigners coming, Americans, Brits, or whatever, to Ukraine?
Well, you're a pain in the arse, but everybody else has been sweet. That's not entirely true. No, but what's fascinating about Ukraine is that they have been standing up to Russian imperialism for a long, long time. I mean, one of the most interesting things written in the last century was George Orwell's preface to the Ukrainian edition of Animal Farm, which no one read apart from the Ukrainians in exile in and places like Canada, which is almost Minnesota, but not quite.
Yeah, almost Minnesota.
By the way, the Canadians didn't throw tea in the sea, and they're still, you can come back. You repent 1776, and you can come back, and at least our king is better than Trump, I would say. However. And our king's certainly younger than Joe, much as I like Joe. My unborn granddaughter bet 500 quid on Joe Biden to beat Trump when it was unfashionable.
Right.
So my son said my daughter can afford to retire before she's born. Anyway, but what happened was let's go back to late February, early March last year, and there was this 40-mile armoured column of Russian heavy metal. The Russians get to Irpin, which is 12 miles from the centre. You can hear Russian artillery, and I can remember waking up day 2 thinking there's some idiot in my flat in London moving furniture. I'm going to phone the council to protest about the noise, and then I realised, no, John, you're in Kyiv.
You're in Kyiv.
And you're not in your place in London, and that isn't somebody moving furniture, it's Russian artillery.
Yeah, that's war.
Yeah.
All this stuff in the distance, not close, but not so close, but too close to be nice. And then what happens is a lot of the Western journalists leave because the Russians are coming.
Yeah.
The CIA and MI6 is telling Zelensky, we'll give you a ride. I don't want a ride. I need ammo. Beautiful. And I don't know, there's lots of queues. There's panic and terror. And everybody's trying to get their kids out, and it's grim. And I don't like queuing, and or lines as you call it in the United States. So I say fuck it. I'm all I'm going to do is find myself a hole in the ground and a bottle of whiskey, and if the Russians come, I'm going to take my hat off. But I never did. And then what happened was a kind of motley crew of British and American former military people, a lot of them in the Marines.
Yes.
Jarheads, as you chaps call them.
Yeah.
Some of whom were wonderful, some of whom were psycho, and it made for an interesting. Thank you. It made for an interesting atmosphere in the Buena Vista, which is this fantastic Cuban barbecue. We've got to go to it.
Yeah.
This kind of weird atmosphere, and some of these people were hyper aggressive, and I want to write a thriller in part about these guys who were broken from before, who were helping Ukraine, some of whom are good. I met a sniper from Alabama at one point, was coming out, who was a good man, who had been in the President's 100, which is one of the top 100 snipers in the U.S. Army.
It's a special patch. You only a few. Yeah.
And he was very good. And he was going back to Alabama because his kids had got COVID and his missus was worried about it. And he and my friend, we gave him a lift across the border, and he was dealing with some of the issue, as often happens when you get away from the front line. You start cracking up in a way that you don't when you're serving. And I'm a writer, not a fighter, but I've been to those places. And he was saying, he was worried that some of the Russians he'd killed looked very young to him, and I reassured him that actually, certainly the beginning part of the war, things were less bad on the Russian side in terms of they wouldn't be throwing 15-year-olds
Right. Yeah.
into the thing. So he's just looking at young 18, 19-year-olds, I think. But it gave me anyway, he was a good guy. And then there were some bad guys who were a bit psycho, and dealing with those people. I couldn't remember one. He was an American guy, and he just said to me, "He was, you don't know shit about war." And actually, I thought, well, fuck you, motherfucker. I didn't say that because
Right.
he looked a bit mad. But I've been to wars since '88. But the thing is, Andrew,
Yes.
of all the wars I've covered and been alongside, so the British Army in Bosnia, the British and American armies in Iraq from '91 onwards, the operation in northern Iraq,
Yeah.
Afghanistan, 2001, Iraq 2003, the wars in former Yugoslavia. This war is different. The reason this war is different is because this is a war between good and evil, pretty much full stop, or full stop. It feels like the Second World War, and it is an honour to be on this side. And I feel like an American reporter in London in 1940, like Ed Murrow, one of those guys. Good night and good luck guy.
Good night and good luck,
with
yes.
the Clooney movie,
Yep.
which is great.
Very good.
And there's just this sense of, boy, do I want this side to win, because this side is a peaceful democracy that's been invaded twice, actually, that cares about everything that we care about: human dignity, laughter, fun, messing around. This side doesn't really care who you want to fuck, so long as they say yes. It doesn't care how you spell your name, all of that stuff. All it cares about is, are you a decent human being, and help us.
Exactly. Very, very good points, John. Very good points. Life lessons are being learned, especially myself, being an American, coming to here and the problems that we have at home, coming to see here, and just like the effort to see the victory and destroy the Russians for what they've done to Ukraine. It's just absolutely evil. I mean, after being here for just a little under a week and seeing the Ukrainian people, talking to them, the rich history here, deep history, has just been incredible. Now, Operator Starsky, I'm not going to make you go through it again for the 18th, 100th time about, your experiences at
Do it
Hostel.
again. Do it again.
What has been the biggest thing you have learned in your time in the military after defending Hostel from the Russians?
The biggest thing I've learned, not only as a military but as a person, is that is that we underestimated the support of the international community so much, and Russians did too. Because when people from all over the world started showing their support, it was something amazing, and that was the reason I created this blog a week or two after the invasion. Because Russians expected that nobody's gonna support Ukraine, nobody's gonna stand for Ukraine, whatever, and neither did we expect that people will start not only coming here as fighters, but also just rooting for Ukraine, doing all of those meetings, rallies, support rallies in other countries, and I think it's beautiful because we always thought that people changed, people became lazy, people became careless and stuff. No, it's not like that. People are beautiful, and majority of international community that is out there, they're absolutely beautiful, and that is probably the strongest impression I had since the beginning of the invasion.
That's wonderful to hear, because I was a little foggy on that in terms of the view of the international community. But in terms of support, John, you confronted Vladimir Putin to his face. You were out there from the beginning, even before the full-scale invasion. What what started your? I mean, you have done investigative reporting, for decades. But what really latched you on to Vladimir Putin and the happenings that Russia's been doing in the neighboring countries here in this region?
Quick plug: all of this is in my book, Killer in the Kremlin.
Highly recommend. Buy.
It's okay.
It's okay.
But what's funny? So I went to Chechnya twice in 2000. Remember the victims? They're a bit brown and they're Muslim, and but what happened was that there was a series of funny, peculiar terrorist attacks in Moscow. September 1999. Putin's just in power. He's got an approval rate of 2%. He looks like a secret policeman in a cheap suit, and he's got no popularity. Suddenly these Chechen terrorist attacks happen, 300 people are killed, and Putin says, we're going to get these fuckers and going to wipe them out, even if they're sitting on the bog. And he's Mr. Strong Man, and Russia, and his approval rates go up to 80%, and they've pretty much stayed there the whole time. This was a lie. The Chechen terrorists were actually, it wasn't them, it was a black operation by the FSB, which is a new name for the KGB. Yeah. And so this is, I think the evidence is overwhelming that the Russian secret state blew up Russia to make Vladimir Putin look good. And that's the start of it. Yeah. So Putin's rule starts with him murdering Russians, and it's continued like that. Then he launches this pitiless war against the West. And I go to Chechnya undercover in February 2000, and I see evidence of Russian war crimes, of the Russians bombing a white-flagged refugee convoy and killing 300 people. And what's so awful, Andrew, is last year I went to, after the Russian army fucked off, I went to Bucha and then Borodanka, and I saw car after car after car with Dieti on it. Dieti is Russian for kids in Cyrillic, and children with bullet holes. So this is the Russian army killing refugees, killing kids, fleeing. War crime after war crime after war crime. I first called Vladimir Putin a war criminal 23 years ago. 2014, Russia, the first invasion, Russia seizes Crimea and it invades the eastern counties or oblasts of Donetsk and Lugansk. And then a Russian Buk missile shoots down MH17, an Air Malaysia flight from Amsterdam, going to Kuala Lumpur, and there's all this luggage in the middle of nowhere in eastern Ukraine, in the area controlled by the proxies, who
the
are
so-called,
the Donetsk People's Republic Mickey Mouse. It's Disneyland, but with real psychos with guns, and they are the creatures of the Kremlin, of the Russian dark state. There's luggage, there's engine oil, there's engines, there's the nose, there are the wings, there are corpses, there are the books you take on holiday, and there are those little things called trunkies, those little suitcases that kids are carried along at airports, and when I see one, I still cry, Heathrow or something like this, it gets to me. And so I say to myself, okay, let's go doorstep Vladimir Putin, let's challenge him. Is this possible? And it's impossible in Moscow and St. Petersburg, but there's a clever guy, Nick Sturdy, who works for BBC Panorama, who I used to work for, which is our version of 60 Minutes. And Nick says he's opening a mammoth museum for mammoths in Siberia. And the editor of Panorama goes, Have we got a reporter who looks like a professor of mammothology?
You said, sign me up, sign me up.
Everybody looked around and I was the only one who looked like a fucking professor of mammothology. I go to my niece's wedding somewhere in England, like 4 weddings and a funeral. I'm really drunk. I get on a plane from London, go to Moscow, change planes, another plane, 9 time zones east of London, you could. Further east than Beijing. I rock up and I got off the plane. I'm starving. I need a kebab. Fuck off. We got no time. We have no time. Fuck. I'm having a kebab. Stop the car. I wolf the kebab. Then I line up and then I've got a tie on and all the other professors. I'm not wearing my orange hat, obviously. And there are lots of professors of mammothology and they're shaking. I don't have my nails either. And they're shaking because they're about to meet Putin. I'm shaking because I drank too much, but I'm not afraid. Anyway, Putin rocks up and tell me about the killings in Ukraine. Tell me about MH17. And he answers the question and he talks rubbish. I'm much taller than him, and
yeah, you towered him. And like I'm,
but it's the other way round. So
Yeah,
anyway, but he's so this is Putin.
this is Putin.
And I'm there's this awful moment where I'm towering over him, and suddenly I can feel the kebab slowly come up.
Oh no!
And this awful.
Oh no!
I'm gonna throw up over Vladimir.
Oh.
Like
you should
that.
have. You maybe should have.
And well, that's the issue. In that I could have. I am the man who could have thrown up over Vladimir Putin and Minnesota and the other people. I apologise because I blew it. I could have vomited.
That was an
over
opportunity miss.
However, there's a lot of fucking Kremlin muscle who is staring at me like this. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And if I throw up, then if I throw up, I don't have to buy a beer in Kyiv ever again. However, will I get that opportunity?
True. Very good point. You would have been a legend.
The kebab stays down. A few hours later, there's a second event. Putin is meeting some Chinese deputy prime minister. They're opening an oil pipeline-y kind of thing. And as I walk toward, and it's a great big hangar, and I'm 300 feet away from Putin and the Chinese guy, and somebody comes up to me, hits me in the stomach. They didn't like my question. Nobody says anything, but and I'm and by the time I've recovered, he's gone, disappeared. So that's what happens if you ask a question of Russian power.
Wow. Well, that's a deeper story than what I thought. We only had seen you confront him, but to hear the ins and outs of that, you almost nearly puked on him, and then you got hit for asking the wrong question. How long did you stay in Russia after that? How long did you linger there?
So I can remember my ex. We were still pals. My ex and I were still together, and my daughter Molly asked my ex, "When's Dad coming back?" And she said, "Tuesday or never."
I'm glad.
It turned out to be Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I went back again. I went back a couple of times. There's a guy called Alexander Dugin.
Starsky knows him.
There's video. It's hard to find, but if you do linky things after this, we can find it. But you've got to find it through the Russian language version, BBC Russia service. But what happens is I meet Dugin, and Dugin is, they call him Putin's Rasputin or Putin's brain, and he's a fascist. Alexander Dugin, he's thick with Steve Bannon used to show him in high regard. Anyway, Dugin and I sit down something like 2017, 2018, I forget when precisely, and we're in Moscow, and I ask him, what does the murder of Boris Nemtsov, who was a wonderful Russian opposition figure, what's the murder of Boris Nemtsov tell us about the health of Russian democracy? And he said, Dugin said, Putin murdered Nemtsov? Nemtsov was critical of Putin. I said, this is ridiculous. What about Julian Assange? And I said, Julian Assange, he's dead, is he? And Dugan got this, you are a fascist, you're racist. And he rips off the sound mic.
Yeah.
And then as he walks off, I says, tell me, what does the election of Donald Trump, does that mean the world's a safer place? Anyway, after that, we got followed by the FSB, the KGB, the whole time, like
a hawk,
like Scientology.
Yeah.
By the way, is he a Scientologist?
Oh no!
Are you sure?
No, 100%. Starsky vetted me. He's made sure I wasn't. Yeah.
Are you a member of the church?
I can't comment, John. You know,
Starsky still has to vet him. He hasn't.
I think Alex is. Anyway, all I can say is this: Hail Zeno. Anyway, but like full-on Scientology, but with guns in Moscow.
Yeah.
And eventually at some point we were detained. We go to the police station. They asked me whether I desecrated a shrine to Boris Nemtsov. Obviously I haven't, and not only our video but their video proves that. In the middle of this, the police asked for my passport. I give them my passport, they copy it, and then suddenly my passport and all its details are up on Russian Telegram, which means that I have to cancel it because it's an open goal for conmen. And other nasty things happen to other people in our team. And this is, you ask the wrong questions in Russia and bad things will happen to you. So, you know, the idea is there's a problem in that Russia's useful idiots don't understand. America, the great arsenal of democracy, has got all sorts of problems, but it is a democracy and you do have free speech. You go to Russia, you know, I'm telling you, I asked a critical question of Vladimir Putin and somebody hit me. I asked a critical question of one of Putin's major propaganda allies, and I get detained. My passport gets rubbished. We're followed 24/7, and the Russian state media pop up and try to take me on. Actually, I bark at them, and they doorstep me, and we'll show a link to this thing.
Yeah.
But it's this funny moment where the Russian media have come to doorstep me, but they're so incompetent they're now running away. It was funny.
It shows the difference too, because Americans, they'll think that because their certain political party didn't win an election that their free speech is being taken, when the real evidence of lack of free speech is clear as day in Russia. Now, Operator Starsky, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit. What did you do daily updates on your channel. Highly recommend go and subscribe to Operator Starsky if you haven't. It's in the title. What did you do prior to the full-scale invasion, bro? Want to talk about that for a little bit?
I started in the military. I joined in 2014 after the Revolution of Dignity, where I was among the activists. Before the Revolution of Dignity, I was highly disappointed in Ukrainian people. Before the revolution, I considered everything, including like just leaving Ukraine forever. But when the revolution started, it changed my mind a lot because I saw decent people. It's when you go to this revolutionary area at the Maidan Square, you pass through the barricade, and there you meet all kinds of decent people. Immediately somebody rushes towards you with like hot beverage, tea or whatever, gives you like a sandwich, because they're worried that you're cold and hungry and stuff, and they do that voluntarily. People were so much self-organized back then, and it changed me a lot. I started believing in my people, and when the war started around August, September 2014, I was in Poland receiving treatment after being traumatized at the revolution. So my friend got captured near Ilovaisk. He served in Donbass battalion. He got captured by Russians, and I decided that I should return to Ukraine, join the military, and try to bring him back somehow. So that's what I did, and since end of 2014 and until the beginning of the full-scale invasion, I served as a military. I was a special force police operator in 2015. 2016 I was a soldier, a private in my brigade. I passed through this inhumane selection program to my brigade. Oh my god. And I was with the infantry, then I became an NCO, and
NCOs lead the way.
yeah, absolutely. It's NCOs for life.
Absolutely.
And 2018 I was promoted to an officer because I have higher education, and I became a press officer for my brigade. Still NCO core in my heart, absolutely. So that's what I did.
Yeah, and you can tell too, because I met tons of officers. Obviously, you guys know I served in the military. I became an E5 NCO, like a sergeant, and the best officers are the ones that were prior service, non-commissioned officers, and then they became officers because they have that background. Do you see yourself having a career in the military, or after the Russians are defeated, are you going to call it quits?
I don't really see myself as a professional military after the war, because the main reason I recruited myself was because my country is in danger. My country is in danger, my people are in danger, and I have to do everything I can to help them. So that was my main mission, and it is my main mission as for now.
Absolutely, thank you. And John, same question to you. Now, you've been, like you mentioned, you've been a war reporter for almost 40 years, 35 years, 32.
Yeah.
Yeah.
88.
Yes. Oh wow, that would be 42 years then, wouldn't it?
88 was the first war I went to.
How long are you
He's only
gonna?
45 though, right? He started very young.
How much longer do you want to? Are you? I mean, you're gonna see this through, but how much longer are you gonna?
I don't want to do. After this, I'm hanging up my orange hat. I don't. I mean, so the other day, I was in London when I heard news that my friend Victoria Amelina had been killed by a Russian cruise missile aimed at a pizza restaurant in Kramatorsk. And remember, Kramatorsk is something like 30 miles from the front line, so it's the place you go to chill when you've been somewhere dark and dangerous. It is, or should be, safe or safe-ish, and she was killed. My normal fixer Dima, who's a great guy, he was untouched, but his car, and he was driving Victoria and some Colombian journalists around. They were okay. Victoria was horribly injured, brain injury, never recovered. And so this fucking war. But I don't want to. I don't like war. I hate guns. I'm not American in that way. I think it's crazy. Yeah. I hate guns. I hate loud noises. I don't really like fireworks. I like drinking and I like the contempt of beautiful women because that's all I ever get from them. But I want to see a peaceful and safe Ukraine. I also want to see a peaceful and safe Russia, not under Putin. And Russia has got it's not just Putin. The Ukrainians are right about this. There is a problem with the Russian mindset, which has been far too imperialist and fascistic for far too long. And what happened after the Second World War is the West Germans had a go, not perfect, but they had a go at denazification. And Nothing like that happened in Russia. So they have to have a serious attempt at de-Stalinization and de-Putinization and say sorry to Ukraine. So there's a moment in 74 where the German leader Willy Brandt, he goes to the Warsaw Ghetto where the Nazis murdered so many Jews, and he goes down on his knees to say the symbol of the new and modern Germany was deeply sorry for the crimes, the war crimes and the crimes against humanity they committed against European Jewry, against the whole of Europe, against Poland, Whoever takes over, who's got to be, if Russia has a place back in the civilized world, and that's an if, not a when, it's an if. The new leader of Russia has to go to Bucha and Mariupol and Bakhmut and get down on his knees and say, we are sorry. And they've got to pay up too. But first of all, we are sorry. So, but I'm an optimist. I'm setting up a festival, by the way, which your gang are completely... so Putin's birthday is October the 7th. And I did it last year. One piece of advice, Andrew: never try and organise a festival in a city that might get nuked. The organisation's but the festival is called the Vladimir Putin Do Fuck Off Festival. And we raise money. The plan is October the 7th. We'll have we'll have comedy, dance, music, fashion. Ukrainian, we celebrate everything that's good about Ukrainian culture and cuisine and comedy, and we raise money. And if your gang can buy tickets for something like a $10, something like this, $12 for 3 nights, $36, and you can watch all our fun.
Will you post a link to this on your Twitter?
Yeah, when we get going and all that stuff, we've got to get some permissions through. But I've got a gang working on it. I'm an optimist. I think we need to give Ukraine F-16. We need to give them ATACMS. We need to give them the kitchen sink. The counteroffensive is going slowly because we haven't given the Ukrainians enough stuff to defeat the Russians. We should give them, whatever they bloody want. It's a democracy. We've got to help these people. And the reason why Ukrainians are dying right now is because the West's timidity and greed from before. We let Vladimir Putin get away with murder after murder after murder. We didn't stand up to Putin properly, and the people who are paying for this are the Ukrainians, and they're paying in blood. So the idea was, we've given them enough weapons. No, we haven't. Until Ukraine has kicked all the Russian killing machine out, the war continues, and we've got to stand by Ukraine because the Chinese are watching, because Russia's fascist, because it's the right thing to do. But it'll happen, and I'm confident about that. Anyway.
Perfect.
Go on.
Go ahead, Starsky.
Yeah, and one thing that John mentioned is there are cases, for example, during different events when there are Ukrainians and Russians, like beauty contests, singing contests, sports contests, whatever. When Russians they try to say something like, let's have selfie together, or like let's hug, or like they just want to shake, like Russian sportsman wants to shake a hand for like Ukrainian sportsman or whatever. It doesn't work this way. Before even starting to talk to Ukrainians, the Russians must say this thing: I'm very fucking sorry for what Putler did to your country. I'm very fucking ashamed about what happened. And only after that they should ask about anything. They don't realize that they invaded Ukraine. They are the enemy. They are the criminals. And this is the way all Ukrainians accept them as criminals. That's why even before talking about any like selfies, huggies and shit like that, they need to say, I am sorry. That is something that all Russians must know.
You cannot shake hands with a murderer while he's still murdering people. What you've got to do to the murderer is say, put your weapon down. These are handcuffs. Face the fucking ground, and then you're going to have a proper trial. But you're a murderer, and you've got to call it right, and that has to be our attitude. And people, the Kremlin's useful idiots who don't get this. There's a problem, right?
Yeah.
I've met Putin. I asked him a question, and then somebody hit me. I've challenged his apologists, and I get followed and I get arrested. I've been to Ukraine. I hang out with the Ukrainian. I've been arrested by the Ukrainian army, then released. And the guy who arrested.
You guys are the good
friends. We're
huh?
great friends.
Yeah.
So I've written another book. I've helped Aidan Aslan's book. It's called Putin's Prisoner, and it's coming out July 20th in Britain and elsewhere, I'm sure. And the person who wrote the introduction is the guy who arrested me on day 2, Vlad Demchenko. So to the people who don't believe me, what else can I do? I first called Vladimir Putin a war criminal 23 years ago. I've met him. I was punched after I asked him a question. I hang out with it. I've even been arrested by the Ukrainian army, and still I like them.
and you can ask Starsky too. I ask him so many questions, and he never gets tired of them. Like, can I take a picture of this? Can I take a picture of that? And sometimes he'll say no, and most times it's yes, because there's just operational security things around here, but there's so much beauty here. But I never get turned down from even just a simple answer to a question.
But there is a war going on, and so there are military secrets, just like the British and the Americans had them in the Second World War. But essentially, this is a free and open society fighting a war. So here's the difference: is the people out there, a lot of them are in the States, who say that I'm an idiot and that I'm lying. Well, I've met Putin, and I'm in Ukraine right now, in a city which was hit by Russian killing machines last night, and people are suffering because of that last night. So we here in Kyiv, we know what we're talking about because we're here. And I would say yes, because I've met Putin. I can say I do know what I'm talking about. So the people who call me a liar, I don't think they know what they're talking about. They're not in Ukraine, they haven't been to Russia, they haven't met Vladimir Putin. So that's the difference, folks. You've got to, like, in life, when somebody says, oh, they're lying, but actually they haven't been anywhere near it, then you've got to look at them in the eye and go, you know what? You're talking rubbish.
Real liar. Before we go to questions from the viewers, final thoughts, just anything that you would like to say before, because viewers, we do interactive, and they would love to ask both of you some questions. So just final thoughts. We'll start with Starsky first.
Well, first of all, it's a big honor meeting you, because I'm
listen, you're in hospital, mate. I was sitting in Kyiv going, I do hope those chaps in hospital know what they're doing. So fucking hell, mate.
Let's go.
And also, I would like to pass a big thank you from your big fan from New Zealand, Samantha Williams. She says she has your book, Killer in the Kremlin, and she said it's amazing.
Well, thank you, Samantha. Thank everybody. I was very upset when Andrew Bagshaw, who was a wonderful and brave New Zealander, he was killed, rescuing civilians from the was it Solidar, something like this. And Andrew was a great. There are Americans too, as well, who've done this, who have died in the. There is nothing better in life, I think, than dying or giving up your life while protecting others, and there's something beautiful about that. But let's be clear about what's happening here. Russia has been at war with us for a long time. Not a war of bombs, but a war of influence, an insidious war, an intelligence war of influence, of buying our politicians, or compromising them, or doing those kind of things. But really, we've been at war with Russia, and we haven't known that. How are we doing in this war we're fighting that we don't know we're fighting? Well, we're doing badly because we didn't know about it. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about this awful, brutal, big war is now we can see Russia for what it truly is, but the Ukrainians are fighting our war for us. And all we have to do is to help them by giving them money and giving them the heavy metal they need to do that. So when people say, oh, we're giving them too much, no, we're not giving them enough. And remember, Ukraine is fighting Russian fascism on our behalf. So, and the Chinese fascists, I think I'm going to say that, they're watching.
Oh yeah,
They're watching. And Erdogan too, he's no Democrat, Erdogan. So these people, they're watching and they're seeing the consequences of Ukrainian courage. So we've got to help these people. And I think all of us have a simple message from Vladimir Putin. It goes like this: Vladimir
Putin, do fuck off. Fuck right all the way off. All right, so a few questions from the viewers. I'm going to pass this to Alex and read some.
He's the Scientologist.
That's right, John. That's right. We're on to you. So it's going to be a quick one, first of all. So we do fairly rapid fire. But the first one, John, obviously is, what's the story with the orange hat?
So I'm bald. Okay, this is a bit, it's cold. It's February last year. It's freezing. It's snowing. In my duffel coat, I've got this. I bought it in a ski shop in Italy.
Really?
And then I went in, and I need a hat. It's cold, and he gave me this, and I thought, have you got like some terrible colour? Have you got anything else? Have you got a black one? No, but for you, €3. Oh, fuck it. So this cost me free, and I was cold, so I fished out the hat. The problem at the very early start of the big war was because the Russians were 12 miles away. I mean, bloody close. Mm-hmm. There was paranoia in the city. There was, you can attest to it. And I kept on being arrested for being a Russian spy. What this says is I'm not a military. So the moment you see me through your sniper sight, you go, that's okay. And my ex, as I said, we're still pals, she said, get that bloody hat off. The Russian snipers can see you. And I said, listen, the snipers are 12 miles away. The people aren't worried about the Ukrainian cops, Ukrainian soldiers. So this says straight away. Then what happened is that when all alcohol is banned, and what I said is, sorry, this story goes on for too long, but there we are.
Yeah,
what I said is,
what it is.
Oh, I said, I'm staying, so long as my supply of courage and alcohol are good. And I got down to my last half bottle of Irish whiskey, so it was bad when the Buena Vista opened. Not entirely legally, because Ukrainian martial law said no sale of alcohol. Anyway, this bar's open, and everything closes at 9. Fuck it, I'm having a quick last drink, and I bust the curfew. And then on the way back, Ukrainian cops, it's after curfew, da-da-da, and then I'm shining my lights, my phone light, on my hat, and I'm going, Putin, Julio, Putin's a dickhead. And God save the Queen. In my very loud voice, oh, God save the Queen. Light on my face hat. And Ukrainians, hey, it's after curfew. And then the next night, going down the hill, I've got my friends are hiding behind me. Lights on my orange hat. God save the Queen, Putin, Julio. 3 nights in, the Ukrainian cops, as I walk past, the Ukrainian cops go, God save the Queen.
That's fucking awesome.
That is, everyone says they don't mind how long these stories are. They're really loving them. Other people are saying you look like a tugboat captain, which I think is, which is, I'd say that as a compliment almost. Starsky, people are asking how your cats are as well. They're asking if they're okay.
Yeah, they're fine. So Fluffy is recovering. She lost a patch of her fur because she tried to sneak to some. My apartment is not cat-proof yet. But she's fine. And my dog yesterday was a bit scared by the explosions because several Shaheeds, and fuck Khamenei, by the way, several Shaheeds were flying over my district, and one of them was intercepted there, and Fuch was like, what the hell's going on there? So I said, dude, just relax, go to sleep, everything's fine. So he was a bit scared, but he's okay. And Fluffy was sleeping all night long. Yeah.
That was the first time I heard the booms too, because we've heard the air raid alarms while I've been here on and off, but last night was the first time I actually, I'm new here, John. My bad. It's my first time,
So I have a bad. There was when I finished. I was helping to ghostwrite Aiden's book.
Yeah.
And I finished it, and then I went for a drink. I went for a big drink.
I bet you did.
And I slept through 6 hypersonic missiles and 12 cruise missiles, all of them being knocked out of the sky by Ukrainian air defense. But it was a very, very, very noisy night, and I woke up and I announced on Twitter, I'm embarrassed to say that yet again I slept through the whole damn thing. And actually, last night I didn't hear a damn thing because of the drinking.
Yeah, we had a few.
And then we ended up drinking by the river and almost going for a swim.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't.
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't.
But anyway, we ended up. But the consequence is, I didn't hear the explosions last night because I'd had too much to drink the night before.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I finally heard them. Go ahead, Alex.
John, do you know what the best pub is in Kyiv?
Buena Vista.
There you go. Straight in. Absolutely no problem at all.
Max, who owns it, that's a free double rum and coke, okay?
Do let us know if you've got other questions as well, other than just orange hats, because the orange hats are incredibly popular. Should we very quickly do the daily weather update as we're here?
So we kind of have a play because the Russian state media does a little weather report, but it's just propaganda.
Okay.
So go ahead, Alex.
So we do the legitimate weather. So
legitimate
today, we're partly cloudy for the beginning of the day. I believe it's going to brighten up at around 2:00.
In England in Britain, we have the shipping forecast.
Yeah.
The shipping
And one of the things, and it's slightly kind of weird and crazy, but because it's also for fishermen and their fishing boats.
Yeah.
And one of the favourite phrases is "rain later, good."
Yeah. Cromarty's Dogger 4, isn't it?
Fisher, German bite. Rain later, good.
You need to hear the shipping forecast in Britain. It could be a highlight of your life.
See what that's about.
There is a 40% chance of rain there as well today, guys.
I told you, rain later, good.
Yeah,
Rain later, good means good visibility. But the visibility is assumed.
And we're going to have highs of around 84 Fahrenheit. So that's, so
warm. The rain will feel good.
I think that's enough for the weather for now. With Starsky.
It really is boring in real life, isn't it?
Man, it is like, what you met last night is the reality. There's nothing to me at all.
Any sports highlights?
Oh, wow.
How's the cricket?
The cricket has gone quite well. I think there's quite a lot of Aussies here that give us a
the
view.
The Aussies stop cheating, okay?
That's right. Get that sandpaper out of your pockets and play fairly. Us Brits do it properly. Starsky, people are asking, are you going to go a tour once we win the war?
Ooh, like a tour around the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. I already have a plan of my Euro trip, as well.
Are you going to go to Minnesota? I wouldn't go there. It's dangerous.
I'll keep him safe. Just like he's kept me safe around here, I'll keep him safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's about regarding the Euro trip, the US trip, and the America trip will be is coming. And of course, I would love to meet all kinds of friends, all kinds of viewers and subscribers and supporters and our allies. I would also like to meet all kinds of supporters of the Russian terrorism because they expect to just hang out.
Yeah, they expect to just live life after this.
Yeah, they think that they will just, the world will forget about them. Fuck no.
They're not going to be forgotten, that's for sure.
Andrew, just to go, there's 1.4K listening live now.
Goodness,
so
we've broken a record now. Now we're over 1,000. We've been going more and more.
So yeah, thank you both for coming on and captivating the audience so well. Because obviously I failed miserably on the other days when there's no guests. People are asking, John, are you going to meet with Philip Ittner again?
Yeah. So Phil's a friend of mine, and he's already in. Yes. Very happy to do that. I'm almost certainly going to have a beer with him I'm going to have a beer with him, no question.
We should try to get him on our morning program one morning too.
Yeah.
He's good. He's solid.
We will try and get Philip onto the show along with John, maybe then. Maybe John
By
will
the way, we
return.
look alike, but I've got an orange hat.
We'll give Philip the orange hat. Maybe you guys can tell the difference.
I think people are offering to buy the hat as well, John. You could probably raise a lot of money for Ukraine selling the hat.
So I have crowdfunded it before. What happened was I did an auction by crowdfunding.
I'll make a selfie for Philip.
Oh, yeah. And I crowdfunded it, and it raised £15,000 for Ukrainian.
Wow.
This is the most expensive item
That's
of
an
clothing
expensive
I've ever had.
Wow, man.
Anyway, this British guy won it, a lovely chap called Tim, and he said this is still a magic work to do, and he gave it back to me.
Because you had a new one for a little bit, right? So
yeah, I had a new one, but this is the one with magic power. I really think I should, after a year and a half, I think I should give it a wash, but I'm afraid to. Anyway, it is a bit smelly. Personal hygiene, every hero has feet of clay.
Oh yes.
And one for Starsky. People are asking, obviously, over the weekend, Erdogan released the commanders of 36th Marine Brigade, wasn't it, and Azov, Commander Redis, and they're asking what your opinion is on that, and maybe for the morale of the country and the troops.
We know Redis. We met at Svetlodarsk around 2019. Actually, it's when Azov was fighting at the positions at the span at the Svetlodarsk Bulge, and my brigade changed Azov. We were deployed, and for approximately 1 month, the orcs thought that they were still fighting Azov. I know Redis, like a lot of people, a lot of officers in my brigade know Redis. We are very happy that he's back. His wife was surprised, by the way, about it. It's a huge boost to our morale to see our comrades back home. Yeah.
Absolutely. They have on one of the buildings on Krashatik, it says "Free the Mariupol Defenders," a big sign on it.
Town hall.
Oh, that's the town hall.
That's the town hall. Yeah.
Okay.
They Azov people are some of the hardest fighters for Ukraine. Some people say, by the way, let's hit this straight on. Some people say they're far right, and there is a bit of history about that. But from my view, Nazi is as Nazi does. Ukraine didn't invade Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine. And the Azov people they've changed all of that. What they are is they're brave, and they're fighting for a democracy, and they're fighting for a country that wants to be at peace, and it wants its invader to leave, and then life will be good again. And what's wrong with that? So it's great that the Azov people have been released. It's also the geopolitical significance of it is that Erdogan, who is a strong man, sees Putin, who is now not a strong man. Putin is a weak strong man, because the deal was Erdogan wouldn't release these people until the war is over, and he's done it. And it's a kind of, how can I put this? It's a fuck you to Putin. Now, there are all sorts of games going on as well. Erdogan is not a soft toy factory, but nevertheless, I think Erdogan has read what happened in Russia with the Prigozhin mutiny, and he's looking at this and says, you know what? Vladimir Putin is a man I can afford to humiliate. And that, as somebody who supports Ukrainian democracy in its fight for its freedom, is good news.
Absolutely.
One thing I wanted to add, this information may shock a lot of people, but actually Muslim community in Ukraine, Jewish community in Ukraine, they all support Azov. And the reason for that is I have never heard of cases of anybody from Azov movement hurting Ukrainian Jewish, Ukrainian black people, because we have them here as well, Ukrainian Asian people, because we have them here as well, Ukrainian Muslims or whatever. We are all fighting as one, and even recently the chief rabbi of Ukraine.
You guys remember the rabbi in the sherp in Kherson down there?
yeah, basically he confirmed that the only Nazism that we have in Ukraine is wearing Russian uniform.
Colors. Exactly.
Very early on in the war last March, I get a phone call from the Jewish Chronicle in London. Hey John, we'd like you to be our stringer in Kyiv. And I said, I'm not Jewish. Yeah, we know. And then there's a long pause. And then they said, there's no one else. And anyway, I thought, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then I am the official reporter of the Jewish Chronicle.
Let's go.
In Ukraine.
Let's go.
And I interviewed the chief rabbi's a pal.
Yeah.
Whenever I meet him, I ask him a tough question. And he, why do you always ask provocative questions? Because I'm from the Jewish Chronicle. And when I got to meet Zelensky at the press conference, John Sweeney,
lucky.
Jewish Chronicle. Now, so the Russian fairy story, dark fairy story, the useful idiots say Ukraine is Nazi. Fine. Explain to me why I am the reporter for the Jewish Chronicle, am very happy to be here. Explain that, because I'll explain it for you. Because the Russian fairy story that Ukraine is Nazi is nonsense.
Absolute nonsense.
Dark nonsense.
Absolute.
Anyway, whenever I write a piece for the Jewish Chronicle, there's a rabbi's, paragraph 2, 3, and 4. Down the bottom, there's an imam who's fighting for the Ukrainian army.
Wow.
Or there's a piece about. Sorry?
Sayyid Ismagilov.
Yeah. Yes,
That's so cool.
exactly that guy.
Yeah.
But also the Chechens who are Muslim who are fighting with Ukraine, and the commander. So I put, and the Jewish Chronicle. They said, by the way, we notice that you're reporting on all the Abrahamic faiths. I thought, well, yeah, okay, and it all goes in. I need to write for them. What am I doing? I need to go and write something for the Jewish Chronicle. But hello. The Ukrainians are Nazis? Well, you tell that to the Jewish Chronicle guy.
Exactly.
That's me, folks.
Exactly.
And I think
I want to go home.
yeah, John.
A few more.
Can I go home? I need to fall asleep and everything.
I think
What the fuck is this? I've been kidnapped.
yeah. It's important to remember as well, though, that even though the commanders got released, there still are 900 odd people from the Avastal Steelworks.
And not only that, but also soldiers from the Ukrainian Marines, who the Russians don't like either. There are all sorts. Russia does not respect its prisoners of war. They do not get the International Red Cross gets to see Russian prisoners of war in Ukraine. It does not see Ukrainian prisoners of war in Russia. Why is that? Because Ukraine respects international law and Russia does not.
Couple more.
I can, on the last trip, just on that, because they are still there and they do need to get released, I did meet Horus, who is a hero of Ukraine, one of the commanders, and I can say that they were released quicker, but that because of the commanders, they were given extra special treatment by the Russians whilst they're in the prison, and I'm sure you can all imagine what that is. So we need to get these people out as quickly as possible and free the Avastal defenders. John, people are asking as well, have you got a NAFO fella?
I haven't. I should do. I should. I've got to. Yes, I should do woof woof, etc. I actually got my own dog, who isn't brain dead. He's being looked after by various. One of my friends used to be a British spy. And he now looks after my dog some of the time. Yes, but I'm very NAFO's wonderful woof woof.
Alright, one more.
Yeah, has anyone got a last question for Starsky?
Yeah, one more question, John, and we'll release John back to
Yeah.
Doghouse.
Yeah.
People are also suggesting I need to go and get you a beer so that you stay.
Come and get John a glass.
I don't know what they're.
I was thinking about breakfast, frankly.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, mate, there's been donations in here to take you for a full English breakfast. I'm sure Andrew can read through some of them.
I'm going to read some of these. So, lunch for a group of great fellas from Karen. Thank you so much. We got gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Ooh, Sonke, thank you. $20 says, you fellas are the angles. John, do you think Putler is the biggest beaver on the planet?
What?
That's what it says. The biggest beaver.
Do you think Putler
guessing
is the
that's
biggest beaver?
That's probably a censored word.
Beaver means cunt. Yes.
100%.
Vladimir Putin is the biggest cunt on the planet.
100%. And
Can
then,
I say that?
Oh, of course you can. This is YouTube. 100%. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was an absolute blast. We have a message for Putin, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, and it goes like this one more time. Vladimir Putin, do
Fuck off! Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you guys again. Have a wonderful day. All right, and cut. Oh yes. Wonderful.
Good. Pleasure.